Today we're going to dive into a really fascinating idea from our source material, the suggestion that our deepest feelings might actually be written all over our skin. This is the psychosomatic mirror.
I mean, think about it for a second. We've all been there, haven't we? You go totally pale with shock, or you can feel your face get hot and red when you're embarrassed. Well, the source material we're looking at today says these aren't just figures of speech. Nope. They're actually the most obvious signs of this incredibly powerful connection between our mind and our body.
And this quote from the source, it just gets right to the heart of it all. It presents this idea that our skin isn't just some protective layer, it's a literal mirror of emotions. It's like a canvas, reflecting everything that's going on deep inside our minds.
So the source basically puts forward this idea that some skin disorders might not just have physical roots, but psychological ones too. It's suggesting this super strong link between what we feel and what shows up on our skin. So how does this actually play out? Well, the text gives us three really specific examples.
Okay, first up, we've got something called neurodermatitis. And just look at the name, right? Neuro for the nervous system and derma for skin. It's hinting at that mind-body connection right from the get-go.
So the source defines this as a condition where it seems like the nervous system itself is triggering these skin problems. We're talking about an itch that just will not go away, constant irritation, maybe even changes in skin color, all possibly tying back to our nerves.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. The source does acknowledge the physical stuff, genetics, allergies, that kind of thing. But then it makes a pretty bold claim. It says that psychological causes actually play a more important part. So what in the world are these psychological triggers that are supposedly so powerful?
Well, according to the psychoanalyst that the text cites, that relentless itch could be the physical form of some intense internal conflict. Things like bottling up your anger, being way too hard on yourself, or even having this super intense competitive drive. The whole idea is that these feelings get turned inward and then they erupt, quite literally, through your skin.
All right, so the source builds on this theme with a second example, and this is one that a lot of us have probably heard of or maybe even had, urticaria. You probably know it as hives.
The source uses some really vivid language for this one, calling it a painful experience. So itchy it feels like scratching with a needle. Ouch! And you guessed it, just like before, after mentioning the physical triggers like allergies, the focus shifts right back to our mental state.
And here, the source actually points to specific researchers who apparently linked hives directly to emotional distress. They suggested that things like the frustration from a bad breakup, unresolved issues with your parents, or even just general day-to-day stress could be the thing that triggers this really intense skin reaction.
And that brings us to our third and final example from the text, which is probably the most universal of all, a condition so many of us know from our teenage years: acne vulgaris. Yep, the source calls this the acne of youth, tying it directly to that hormonal and emotional roller coaster that is being a teenager. But its explanation goes way beyond just hormones. It gets into some really specific psychological territory. Okay, so this table lays out the causes exactly as they're presented in the source. First, it mentions gland secretions as a big physical cause. No surprise there. Then, it states that masturbation is, and I'm quoting here, considered to be the cause of acne to some extent. And finally, it points to psychological factors, specifically the immaturity of emotions and sexual conflict that often comes with being an adolescent.
And it goes even deeper on the psychological side of things. The source suggests there's another potential layer here, a kind of hidden internal struggle. A teenager might seem totally loyal and obedient to their parents on the outside, but on the inside, they're feeling this really strong opposition. This unspoken conflict, the text proposes, could be yet another factor that shows up on their skin.
So, okay, we've just looked at three very different skin conditions, all through the lens of this one source. So what's the common thread here? Let's kind of zoom out and look at the big picture.
Here it is. This is the central idea that ties this whole thing together. Whether we're talking about an itch from repressed anger, a rash from frustration, or acne from inner turmoil, the source is consistently making the argument that our skin is acting like a mirror, reflecting our inner world for everyone to see. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty provocative question, doesn't it? It's one that goes beyond just skincare and really into self-awareness. If we take this metaphor from the source to heart, and our skin really is a mirror, what is yours reflecting today?
Please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to comment.